episode 84084. Skype and Microsoft Teams get enhancements. And so welcome everybody to those who are watching live, and to those who are listening and watching after the fact. Feel free to engage and comment, and we'll be happy to respond to you as we make our way through the news. And so, of course, every week we cover the productivity and related technology news of the week. We start with our blogosphere articles from the blog and news world out there, and then we do our tech articles after the break. And so, Augusto, what's our first blog article this week?
Our first article is from Inc., and it's Steve Jobs' 3-point formula to effective meeting. And they start out in the article saying, well, this is start with the base of Steve Jobs, and then we add a bunch of other people. But
right, so let's cover the three things. So the three things are meetings should have 3 to 5 people. They should be 30 minutes or less, and they should cover 3 topics. And so those are that's the rule of threes that they're talking about here.
Correct. And, as I was reading this and remember my days of middle management, I was laughing at this, and I say, yeah, as many things with Steve Jobs, that was easy for Steve Jobs to say, I say no to Obama to a meeting because there was too many people, as they quote in the article. The reality, sadly, is that is ideal. The ideals meetings should be, I think we should start shooting move instead of from an hour and a half an hour, 30 minutes and 15 minutes. Most meetings should be done in 15 minutes, but we aren't there yet. So we need to work. I have set my meetings. The longer meeting I have in general is 30 minutes. And as we discuss on many other places, I try to the best of my abilities not to have meetings longer than that. The spam of attention for people doesn't work after that point. And we discover that we waste time that can be used on a different way. If you want to come and have a glass of wine with me for an hour, I'm open. But if we are going to be working, need to do what we are going to be doing. But this is interesting. The 3 to 5 people, I agree. We tend to have these meetings where we don't think why we are inviting the people, and I laugh when I see people optional. No, optional. Why optional? This person is going to bring something to the meeting or is not, then why we have optional, and really record the meeting, transcribe the meeting, send an email after the meeting with what need to be done. But the more people you bring to the meeting in general, the more ineffective they are.
Yeah, this sounds like an enterprise problem for the most part. I mean, in my world, only the people who are needed are invited to the meeting, and those who are not needed never show up. And so,
but it's an enterprise issue, yes.
Yeah, and I think this is very much an enterprise problem, and I think that it needs to be continually refreshed for people, because we fall into the habit of it's a social thing. We want people to be invited. We don't want to limit people from accessing the meetings, but in reality, most of us would rather not be introduced or invited to the meeting if we don't need to be there. And as you said, the technology is so good today that we can do transcripts, we can do recordings where I can watch the meeting in 1x, then 1.5x or 2x speed, so that I can save the time and still access the content from the meetings. So I think it's good for us to be thinking about meetings always in ways in which we can optimize them. All right, on from meeting efficiency to overcoming procrastination.
So there is an article by Justin Verisius. I was a master procrastinator, and here is the 5 steps I used to quit on that habit. It's a really
right. So the 5 steps he goes through.
Let me say, it was a great article, and these are the 5 steps. Jeez. Acknowledge the need of change. Identify and understanding your feelings about this. Work on stuff earlier. Put stuff in your calendar and use the 5-minute rule or the 2-minute rule if you're a GTDer. It was interesting because the article, I was expecting something completely different than what I got. And I really like, understand you need to, if your list now is on the points that you are never getting to the list or to the end of that list, or at least you cannot cycle that list on a timely fashion, you have a problem. Understand your feelings. What? You have fear, you have pride, you have anxiety that you're never going to make this list. Work on the stuff early. Yeah. It sounds, when you are in that whole sense, like, yeah, that sounds great, but I'm so behind all the time that it's, but that's something to work to or to aim to. Put it in the calendar. Stop making that list longer. Start blocking time on the calendar so that gets done, or block time on the calendar so you can get the list moving forward. And then use the 5 minute rule. Find yourself free time that you need to convince to start on something. You can tell yourself, I'm going to work into this with 5 minutes, and if I'm not engaged with, I'm jumping to the next one. And that works. Usually that's enough to break that barrier. 5-10 minutes is enough to make you again getting that thing moving forward.
Yep, I think this was all interesting fodder. I think that these mantras like procrastination is bad. That doesn't necessarily help anyone. Like the reality is that procrastination is not bad. It is just what it is. We procrastinate sometimes positively. We procrastinate sometimes to our detriment. So that part didn't quite resonate with me, but I thought generally the article had some good tips about it. I don't know who this person is, and they kind of side noted emotional intelligence, and I'm presuming they have something associated with it, I guess, because he's the author of EQ Applied. So I'm guessing he's trying to talk about emotional intelligence in the article. It seemed not necessarily pertinent to what he was talking about here, though. He talked about emotions and feelings, but he really didn't tie them back to how this allows you to be more emotionally intelligent or anything like that. And so that didn't necessarily rise to great for me. And to some extent, the whole concept of putting it in your calendar, that also starts to fail itself if you don't have the right technology and the right calendaring principles in place. So this sounded very like this was my experience and I'm sharing it, and I can appreciate those articles. But from the highly scientifically validated method perspective, it didn't, pass muster for me. But I think it's still worth a read from the articles that I've read this week.
Yeah, I think it was a great article, yes.
Yep.
And the last article we have on this section is a Big Four firm will allow 40,000 employees to work from home. PricewaterhouseCoopers has made the decision that it will allow everybody that is US-based service employees to work virtually anywhere from the United States.
Yeah, I think this is great, and the company went to a hybrid model in March, though they did note here that PwC will opt to change its policies, to retain, talent and recruit a diverse workforce. But in that same vein, those who do work virtually in lower cost locations where their COLAs are just, their cost of living adjustments are just not going to happen, they may also face pay cuts. So they're going to, just like, Apple and Facebook and Google and others who have basically said, if you are, if you're not in a place where we feel like it justifies the higher salary, we may lower it. And I don't know how to come down on that issue. If you've been working for the company for 10 years and you've made a particular salary, and then you go decide to move back to, say, Montana, where your family is, or that kind of thing, do you deserve a $20,000 pay cut? Like that would be a substantial change for you and potentially negatively impact what you could do for yourself and your family at that point. I get the cost of living part, but I don't know. It rubs me the wrong way on one side, and
I
I
agree, and I think what is going to happen is, as we have bonus, what we are going to see a change, maybe not tomorrow, but soon, but in the near future, is you are now going to have your base salary, your bonus, and your adjustment cost of living, so that way you can respond to that mobility. Your base may be X, then you get X amount of dollar bonus at the end of the year, and you have that extra bonus or adjustment based on the city that you live, so that way you are movable, you can live where you want, but the company can justify that.
Yeah, and what was additionally interesting here is that they said the employees have 2 weeks from October 1st to basically let management know that they want to go to a virtual, employment arrangement, and then they can modify that in the future, but they need to let them know up front, which is very interesting. And we're seeing this change across a lot of major financial institutions already, the article notes. And so this is good. I think this is a good step in that direction,
I think it's
and we're going to
fantastic.
see experimentation happen. This is an experiment, and of course PwC could always recall their employees back to the office if they needed to. And so, it's not going to make people happy, but they could do it. And so it's just a matter of figuring out what works for these companies and the type of work those people are doing, right? They're doing consulting and that kind of thing. So it makes sense that they could go ahead and be virtual. And they're probably going to travel more.
They'll travel more, and probably they will do it in the same way Yahoo did it years ago under Marisa Peer's, leadership.
Absolutely. All right. So with that, we have reached the end of our blogosphere topics, our productivity articles. And so we're going to take a break. And when we get back, we'll cover the technology news this week. We'll see you on the other side.
While working in person may be normal for you, it's unlikely your coworkers are as interested in being productive as you are. Or working remotely or from home can be isolating. And there's something powerful about being with productive people, even virtually, that helps you be more engaged. If a flavor of these sounds familiar, Co-working Space by Personal Productivity Club is for you. Co-working Space is a virtual work community designed to help members be more effective and efficient in their work and personal lives. At its core, we provide goal tracking and host focused action sessions throughout the week for accountability and camaraderie. Visit anythingbutidle.com/coworking to learn more. Co-working Space lives inside Personal Productivity Club, a digital community for personal productivity enthusiasts, so you can find people who use methods and tools you do too. Again, head over to anythingbutidle.com/coworking to see how Co-working Space can help you be more productive. And now, back to our show.
Welcome back, everybody, to Anything But Idle. I'm Ray Sidney-Smith, joined with Augusto Pinaud. For the second half of the show, we're going to go into our productivity technology articles this week. Augusto, what is our first article this week?
The first article is talking about Crossover 21. Crossover is a software that allows you to run Windows applications in the Chromebook in the case of this article, but they also do it on Mac OS. And now that Chrome OS has a solid Linux behind that you can install this Linux Crostini, it is really interesting. You can now get those Chromebooks and really run real Windows on it. It's even, the article mentioned that it's cheaper than Parallels that also have that option, but you don't need the corporate office. You can go and install it. So it is on my list of things to play and test. No, I don't have any use for Windows applications that I can think right now on that Chromebook, except one that I just thought, but it will be something to test and play just because I can.
Oh, I have exactly the Windows software I want you to test on on your Chromebook. What I found really to be interesting here was the speed at which you could spin this up. And so, the article author here on Chrome Unboxed talked about the fact that you could really have this up in just a few minutes. And if you want the product, you can pay for it. And I forget what the cost is. There's a 14-day free trial, though, that you can start with. But if you sign up as a beta tester, it's free. So I think that there's, of course, that's the catch, right? You're in that space where you have to provide feedback, and you may, come across an occasional bug here or there. But it's free. Why not try it? And I think about all of the software that I utilize on the Windows platform that I would like to use when I'm using the Chromebook just occasionally. It's not all the time. It's just those few moments when I want to know, okay, could I take my Chromebook and go away for a week and still do everything I need to do that I would do on my Windows desktop? Just having that little bit of security prior now to Windows 365, and whenever that eventually comes down to a reasonable professional level cost or pricing. This is a really great step in that direction. I'm really, really excited, and it makes me actually want to go buy another Chromebook.
I see no problem with this. That part of the thing is the Chromebook I have, it's great, but I don't know if it will have enough power to run this?
No.
Most likely no. So
No, I wouldn't try this on the lower end Chromebooks. I would probably put this on a much more high powered Chromebooks, which I have several of them around here. So I'm gonna definitely try this. But I think that it's well. I mean, I would imagine in a pinch, it would work on a more affordable Chromebook. One of those. But I think it's probably something that needs a little bit more high power. All right, on to our next story this week.
well, what Amazon announced last week was a couple of things. They announced a cute robot. You can now have a robot that can walk your Alexa. They announced a new thermostat that work with Alexa. It's pretty affordable, $59, built by Honeywell. So it's a traditional brand. But then let's go to the more exciting things. And the Echo Show 15. Let's put a screen on your wall where it can turn into the center of the household. The reality is that if your house run Madame A, you will have these devices rolling around, and having that graphical, okay, here is the calendars, here is the notes, it was really interesting. Here is what we need for the grocery. So I'm going to admit that I don't know how will work and integrate with the other devices or the cable hanging around for my wife that don't like me hanging cables on the walls, but it is really something really interesting to have this device in there, to have this device showing in there where you can make a call, where you can get a video. So get the calendars, the shopping list. You can even, of course, my kids said, oh, but we can even watch TV. That's out of me for the thing. But again, interesting. And finally, the last product was called a video phone for kids. The reality is not every kid lives close to the grandparents, the uncles. And this new device basically allows the grandparents to connect with a Kindle or an iPad and share with the kids books into an interactive projector on the surface. So little kids can be more interactive on the video calls. That will make the calls much better. When my kids were really, really tiny, my mother-in-law was really good at buying the same toys for her house and send it to the kids so they could play and have that interaction. And that really made a completely difference in how they interact with my mother-in-law against, instead of my parents who never were able to do something like that or not interested or whatever it was.
Yeah, so this is the Amazon Glow. Do you know what the price was on the Amazon Glow?
No, right now it is as invite only. I think it's $259, but I could be wrong.
Okay, yeah. So we have the Echo Show 15, the Amazon Glow, and the Amazon Astro, which is $1,000, and you have to sign up for an invite as well. So it's not a cheap little robot, although it may look cute. And I know that in beta testing, some people were having issues with it, falling downstairs, which for $1,000 robot, it should be able to detect edges and not fall downstairs. So, but I think this is one of those things where there is a lot of opportunity here for Amazon to get into the market. Also, just recently released was their drone cameras that they announced. I forget when they announced it. It was earlier this year that they announced these drone cameras, and those are now out in the marketplace. So we're going to see the Amazon Astro and more products that are basically becoming little surveillance devices in your home that hopefully you control most of the surveillance that's going on, as opposed to Amazon or some ne'er-do-well. But the idea here is that you now have greater capability, right? So like Astro, for example, has a cup holder in it. You can have someone in the kitchen put, a pop whatever soda can in the little holder, and it can bring it to you. Things of that nature that now make it easier. There's a dog attachment for treats, so it can actually shoot treats out of its rear end, so to speak, and treat the dog for doing tricks and that kind of thing. And so I think this is the way that the world's going. This is not Rosie the robot, but it is certainly getting to that point where we're going to see more and more form factors come into the home in this kind of smart device perspective, and we're going to then see probably artificial intelligence come as its next step. But the point right now we do need is in the home, we need to become comfortable with smart technology that is your refrigerator talking to you, and these small moving appliances that are capable of interacting and helping you in small ways. For example, the one thing that this Astro fails to do is ambulate stairs. And so because it can't go up and down stairs, and I live in a house with 5 flights of stairs, maybe 6, there's no way it can live in my house. I don't have an elevator for him or it. And so, I would not be able to utilize the Astro in its full way. And so these things need to be solved. And I think that we need to see companies like Amazon innovate in this market and fail and iterate on those failures. And I'm glad to see Amazon doing this. Although, is Amazon necessarily the best steward of personal data? I'm not sure. But, some people would say Apple is better. Some people would say Google. Some people would say Microsoft or otherwise. I think it's a crapshoot either way. Okay, on to our next story.
So our next story is about Nokia, and Nokia is coming with their second Android tablet ever. It's going to be released in 2 days, October 6th. And it's good. Why?
No, I think that the United States fails to have really solid tablets in the Android space.
True.
The iPad really dominates in the United States in terms of tablets. And I just want to see more really good Android tablets. I'm hoping that this comes with the same kind of ruggedness that you've come to know and trust with regard to Nokia.
Oh, that would be an interesting concept. I was thinking who I know who use Nokia, and I really only thought of my father-in-law, who can't get, you cannot get his Nokia out of his hand, and James Bond. But
exactly. So those are the people they're going after, right? So think about that demographic. And so, my now departed grandfather, he is the kind of person who would have a phone like that, who would also want a tablet that was like that. And so I'm curious to see it. We'll see when it comes out on October 6th and what the specs are on this, and whether or not it's something good for those folks. It's almost like the jitterbug crowd, where you're looking for folks who are looking for something that is simplified, easy to use, and a little bit more rugged than the average tablet. All right, onward to our next.
So our last story is Apple unveils new features for iWork. So that's Pages, Sheets, and Keynote. And, they did their Apple take on Pivot Table. It works incredibly well. Pivot Table has been one of the complaints that everybody have on the iPad. Why cannot do what Microsoft cannot allow me to use pivot tables? And now with Numbers, you will start being able to do pivot tables, and it works incredibly well.
I just have to do the pot shot. I had to look this up. Excel brought pivot tables to Microsoft, brought pivot tables to Microsoft Excel in 1994.
But it's not to the iPad to this day.
I know,
you
but it's
still
just so
cannot do it on the iPad. That is so frustrating.
It's so weird, isn't it? Like that we have these very what we would consider legacy features that should just be caked in, just not present in software. After as long as we've had these features out. Anyway, continue. Sorry,
but it's ridiculous. No, but I agree with you. It is ridiculous that Microsoft has decided not to. It's not a capability or power issue on any of these devices. Not on Android. Not on. Come on, in 1994, any iPad is more powerful than the most powerful machine of 1994. Still, they don't do it. But well, that's a different discussion. The other thing they did that is really cool is now you can have a group of presenters link there, so you can change who is presenting, and they can go into their device and do the presentation, pass the presenter to the other person, and everybody will be connected. I think that's really cool. Haven't tested yet, but the idea is really cool. And finally, they change how you interact with Pages in the phone. And Apple is saying that in their data, people read Pages document on the iPhone more than any other device. So what they did is even they collapse it so you can see it at the width of the phone. Even if you have multiple columns, it will work at the width of the phone so you can see the whole text, you can read it, and you can interact with it much effectively.
Fantastic. Wonderful. Great updates for iWork. And this is for all of the latest versions of iOS, iPadOS, and macOS, right?
Yep.
All right. On to our next. Oh, I guess we've reached the top of our stories.
That's the top
for
first stories
that.
now.
So we are on to our productivity resources of the week. And so as usual, Augusto and I come across many personal productivity tools, apps, and services in our productivity research each week for the show. And of course, in productivity resources of the week, we each bring you one, new or old, we think you might like. And so with that, let's bring up our first item, which is so I want to just let everybody know it's National Cybersecurity Awareness Month, and so among many other months, I think it's Mental Health Awareness Month as well, and it's
It's Taco Week.
It's National Taco Day. It's LGBTQ History Month. It's a busy October, and but either way, in the spirit of National Cybersecurity Awareness Month, what I wanted to do was to show everybody a tool that I use and love, and hopefully maybe it'll be useful to you. And so this is Private Tunnel. Private Tunnel is a VPN. It is the VPN produced by the folks who produce the Open VPN project. And so this is their commercial product, and it's just very easy. Like you are able to connect your VPN and connect your devices to your VPN. The pricing plans are incredibly affordable. I've never had an issue with speed per se with any of them. So it's $6 per month, and that gives you 3 devices. And so that's really good. And then for $36 per year, you can connect. If you pay annually, you get those 3 devices for $36 per year. So it's really worth it to pay the $36 and get 3 devices onto your system, VPN wise. You can even attach, I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, somebody in the chat, but I believe you can actually put this on your router and therefore just VPN everything. Those of you who are unaware, what I mean by VPN, or virtual private network, means that it actually encrypts the content that you're sending between your device and connecting to whatever content you're connecting to, whether that be an app or to a website or whatever. And it's basically encrypting that. So that's why it's Private Tunnel. It's tunneling, in essence, shielding from view the data that you're sending from, say, your ISP, or from potentially people who are sniffing to see kind of what you're up to and what you're doing. So it's a great security enhancement. It's not a panacea for anything, but I think it's a good security enhancement, and I feel like everybody should have it. And it's available. So unfortunately, you can't put it on the VPN. I have a VPN built into my router, so I don't use it for that. But you can install it on Windows, Mac, Android, iOS, and Amazon. So on any of the Amazon Fire OS devices. So pretty good, technology. Just can't. It doesn't seem like you can install it on a router, which is unfortunate. But if you're looking for a VPN, check it out. Augusto, what is your choice this
today
week?
I brought Smart Health Cards. It's a company who, among other things, allows you to scan your COVID vaccine, for example, or other medical records, create a secure code that can be scannable. But more importantly, you can add it to your Apple wallet, so to your digital cards, and you can scan it and it's checked. So they come with a verified sign. So United announced that they are going to start accepting smart cards as part of your, checking that you have the COVID vaccine to get into their plane. New York, New Jersey are going to start using the smart health cards as a side of other app. New York is having their app. New Jersey is having their app too. So we are finally getting more to the digitizing of this information where you can find it and use it this way. So it's starting to get really, really interesting. If you don't want to carry your actual card, this is a good option.
Fantastic. I wish there were more of a universal system for this, but here we are. New York has their own with Excelsior. Now we have smart health cards, and I know that Pennsylvania has their own system, and some of the local county health departments have their own systems. We really need to have a
One
centralized
universal.
system so that we can, comfortably go from location to location, where if there is a vaccine mandate for entering a location, I can just show my app and be able to access or come in without me having to have my physical card, but also just verifying that it is me, that I am the person who's vaccinated, and those kinds of things, because it's not really that secure nowadays. Anybody can get a vaccine card and fake it. So, all right, productivity resources of the week done, which takes us along to our featured story this week, which is kind of a double header.
It's a double header, so it's a Microsoft thing. So the first one is Microsoft Teams is going to get phone features and Operator Connect service. And the second one, it's Microsoft promises big changes for Skype. So after months back, they kind of imply that Skype was going to be dying and facing off, and you are going to have the access to Teams for your personal use. Now Microsoft has thought about it a little bit better, or maybe thought about it for the first time, and decide to, let's backtrack that. Let's make a Skype their personal tool, and let's go and make Teams stronger. So on the Teams side, they now add phone numbers so you can call to the call. You can do, there's a feature that they have that I really enjoy, and it's that the transitions between devices on Microsoft Teams is the best in the market. If I am on a Zoom call and I want to change devices, everybody knows that I changed devices, because, or they need to readmit me, or I'm going to be double on the screen. Same thing with Meet. Microsoft Teams allow me to change devices and nobody needs to know. It asks me, do you want to add this device, or do you want to switch the call? And really, it's seamless. So now they add this feature to the phone call. So I can start the call in my phone, and when I get to my desktop or whatever, say, okay, now change this call to the desktop and continue the call in there. And if that works as well as it works today with just changing devices, that is going to be incredible, because it allows you to really keep the productivity. There is nothing more annoying than said, okay, sorry, I'm going to change devices, so let me stop your conversation here until I do this process. There is no need for that. The technology is there. Should be able to do that seamless. So that I'm excited about it.
Yeah, that is a really interesting feature. I'm not quite sure how often I would use it, except
a
that
lot.
yeah, so I have Google Voice, and I've been using Google Voice for many years, and it has a feature that if I receive a call, only if it's on the receiving side, because this is SIP, it will allow me to, click star and then move the call to any other device that I want. And I do use that, but that's just because I'm going from handset to the desktop or back and forth.
Mhm.
And but that's because I've received a phone call, not because I've started a Microsoft Teams meeting or I'm in a Microsoft Teams meeting. But I'm curious to see if this is something that people will use more and more as they're navigating from home to work and that kind of thing, and kind of juggling.
And that is exactly where this thing shine. I have a client who there is a call that happened daily, and you'd see the people transition, and I've been one of those who transition, and it's great because there is no interruption. They change, and you really don't know that they change, and that works incredibly well.
That's fantastic. That's great. All right, what else do we have up in terms of updates?
And then the last thing we have is Skype, and they're trying now to make Skype hip and cool as it was before they acquired it. I don't know. You will be able to hide the people who is not going to be in the conference, make it more friendly.
Yeah. So
are they too late for this?
No, not at all. Not at all. So this is all shocking to me. Going back to Microsoft Teams, though, in the phones features, you have the ability to transfer calls between people. They do also have what's supposedly better spam call identification, and Congress continues to keep trying to end spam calls, and I know that I get rampant amounts of spam calls, notwithstanding all of the spam detecting technology that I have on my phone and at my carrier, and I make sure that I report every spam call, that kind of thing, I still get tons of
I am
spam
this
calls.
close to renew the warranty of my car to see if they stop calling me.
And so we'll see what happens there. They're also adding to Microsoft Teams the ability to do the Apple CarPlay, so that you're able to basically join calls and meetings using the vehicle's built-in controls, or hands-free using Siri. And then they are also adding one-to-one call transcription and recording. So it's very helpful for what we were talking about earlier, where you just have the call transcribed or recorded, and then people who didn't need to actually attend the meeting can still have a record of it and access it later for that kind of information. On the Skype side, my opinion is that when they noted that Teams was taking over for Skype for Business, I was like, that is it, death knell of Skype. And then they started putting out more features, and we saw even in Windows 10, there was an update that pushed out more features in Skype, bringing Skype to the toolbar and all kinds of other things. I thought that was a bit weird for it to have like task tray prominence, in essence, considering that I thought, Skype is just basically a dying product. And now they're basically standing behind Skype. They're putting in this call stage to compete with Discord. So you're getting a stage to be able to bring people up onto the stage in that sense. You're capable of using this new technology called Twin Cam. And Twin Cam allows you to be able to use another device or another camera added to the call. So you can not just be in the call, but now have an additional view for the same caller. I'm really interested to see this, because now with Skype having recording capabilities, I can very much see myself wanting to do multiple views for recordings, and having, front-facing camera for me, and then having a side camera so I can turn to it and have a nice side view and kind of do those transitions. And I don't know, it seems like a really interesting thing to play with. And so so it'll be Microsoft Teams for work, and then Skype for personal and friends and family type conversations. And I like that split between the two. I've been a longtime Skype Premium subscriber, and I've always enjoyed having Skype having the capability of making phone calls from the Wi-Fi and that kind of thing. Less of a need now today, but I think that it's still good that Skype is out there. I think, again, it's good for the competition. It keeps those folks on their toes in that sense.
And with this, we have one announcement this week. Apple Watch 7. It's going on pre-order this Friday, October the 8th, and on sale on October the 10th. So if you have been waiting for the Apple Watch since Android decided not to release their Google decided not to release their phone, and this is a personal jab to Ray, you can do it on Friday for the Apple Watch.
Yeah, I don't know what Google is going to do, but I'm guessing they're going to have to announce it in the next 2 weeks. I mean, they really do need to announce it soon. They've got another event, don't they? I think they have another event soon that they're announcing other things completely independent of the phone. So they kind of have to get the phone announced soon. They've basically announced it. I mean, they've done almost everything other than to say you can buy the phone now. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. But either way, with that, we have covered the productivity and technology news this week. Thank you, Augusto, as always, for helping me to put together the show.
My pleasure.
All right, everybody. And with that, let us know if you have any thoughts regarding the show. If you go to the once we've put out the recording, if you go to anythingbutidle.com/084, that will take you to the episode page with our show notes. That includes the ability to play, watch, or listen to the show right there on the page. And then we have the show notes, which includes links to all the shows, tools of the week, or the productivity resources of the week, our extra stories if we couldn't cover them here during the show, and then, of course, our text transcripts to read and or download on the page. So please let us know if there's anything that we missed by using either the comment section on the show notes page. You can also use our contact page. Go to anythingbutidle.com and click on contact. You can also tweet or DM us. You can direct message us on Twitter at anythingbutidle. And of course, if you have a question or comment, anything that you'd like to discuss with us about the show, feel free to go ahead and use that contact page at anythingbutidle.com. If this is your first time watching the live stream, feel free to subscribe to the channel. That helps get you notified when we go live weekly. And if you're listening to the podcast, of course, feel free to subscribe to the podcast so you get notified of new episodes when they come out each week. If you've enjoyed spending time or listening with us today, feel free to click the thumbs up icon on YouTube. Feel free to rate and or review us in Apple Podcasts or Stitcher. And of course, those go a long way to helping us reach more personal productivity community members. So thank you for doing that. And with that, see you all next time on Anything But Idle. Here's to your productive life.